My name is Dr. Sherry Walling, and I am a clinical psychologist that attends to the mental health and mental thriving needs of entrepreneurs, leaders, high performers, and their families. And one of the things that I found myself saying lately that I'm really enjoying saying is the sentence, because I wanted to. I also find myself asking a lot of my clients, well, what do you want to do? And these, of course, are very simple statements, questions, because I wanted to. What do you want to do? But they also there's a little bit of like radical subversiveness present in those questions because they are questions about desire, preference, longing, wanting. And those are aspects of our humanness that many of us have come to disregard or to regard with a great deal of suspicion. Especially as leaders, I think we're very concerned about the right thing, decision, or the way of being that is in service, that is righteous, that is smartest, and not necessarily the one that is most desirable. The path of preference is kind of regarded as a lazy path, or maybe a less elevated path. And I coming to really push back against that. The history for me is that I grew up in a very evangelical, conservative, religious family. And the community that I came from was very suspicious of desire, that if you did what you wanted, you were most certainly in some kind of hedonistic sin fest. And so I was always taught to temper my wanting or my preference with righteousness, with self-discipline, with an orientation towards service, not an orientation towards self. And there are some good lessons in a life of service and some wonderful lessons in a call to be self-disciplined. I think those are very essential human skills, especially for entrepreneurs and leaders. But there's also so much richness and data to be offered in our ability to attune to and listen to desire. When I think about a flourishing human, I think about someone who is really in alignment. They're really cohesive, that the things that are important to them are what they spend time on. The things that really bring them to life and light them up, they're pouring fuel on those things. That when we are flourishing, it's because we are allowing ourselves to want, to be in desire, to say, this is what I want to do. And I'm going to resource that and I'm going to hone it. I'm going to have mastery over it so that I can do it to the utmost level. So when we have this like suspicious disregard for our own desire, we're cutting our flourishing off at the knees. We're basically saying what you want doesn't matter as much as these external factors that say this is what's right or this is what's important, this is what you should do. So often the scripts around shoulds are given to us by specific people in our life, by bosses, by leaders, by mentors, by parents, by society at large that value certain kinds of desires over others. I'm not even talking about salacious desires as much as just preferences. I want to structure our staff meetings this way. I want to create this kind of brand experience, not because everyone says I should, but because I want to. I like it that way. The way that this is coming up for me is that I'm producing my 3rd annual circus show. And on lots of business-related measures, it's not really a good or useful activity. It doesn't make a lot of money. It's not very profitable. It doesn't even deepen my potential client pool. But I want to do it. I like doing it. It brings me alive. I find it to be a thing that I want to exist in the world. And so I'm spending a ton of time and energy and resources doing a thing simply because I want to, not because it has business value, not because it's morally righteous, not because it's really in great service to others, although I do think it's a wonderful offering for my community, but being able to say, I want to take off at 3:00 on Friday and go for a bike ride. I want to take a long lunch and spend that time talking with my partner, my wife, my husband on a Tuesday and just take the middle of the day and be present with them. those kinds of wantings, those kinds of desires come from deep inside of us. And I think many of us are quick to disregard, quick to say, but I really need to spend more time in the office, or I really need to allocate those time and resources towards this launch that's happening in 3 months, or I really need to blah, 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 blah. And I think our fear around attending to desire, again, is this sense that we're going to devolve into some kind of like hedonistic sin fest and have no regard for the life that we've built or the commitments that we've made. And I don't know that we're really all that unhinged as humans. I think we can hold multiple points of tension at the same time. And I think the thing that helps to hone our wanting, hone our desire, is to hold it in, not tension, because it's not tension, but to hold it in integration with a couple of other deep values. And the two that really are alive for me in this conversation are to hold our desire alongside of love. What is loving to those that we are in relationship with? What is loving to ourselves? We might have adulterous desires to go and have a lovely, sexy fling with someone, but it is not loving to the people that we are in primary relationship with. It's not loving to the commitments that we've made. And in some ways, it's not loving to ourselves. So the things that we desire are held alongside those that we love. And similarly, I think the other point of deep integration here is integrity, that our love of ourselves, our valuing of who we are and what we value is in some conversation with what we desire. So we may desire to not pay taxes. We may desire to not follow certain contractual obligations. We may desire to do our own thing and spend our money the way that we want. But we also desire to be in integrity. We desire to be whole. We desire to be clear-eyed and integrated with our own values. So desire becomes problematic when it fragments us, when it reduces us to a lack of integrity or a lack of love, and we're merely like pigeons in a Skinner box, like hitting a stimulus, stimulus response, stimulus response, stimulus response. We can talk about low-level desire, which again is just stimulus response. It's a dopamine hit. It's doing the thing that feels good. It's really the premise of addiction. But when we talk about high-level desire, we are talking about a deep truth about who we are and what we want and what we love and what we desire to make of our lives and how we want to show up in our lives and in our world. And that is really an important North Star. It's not peripheral. It's not stimulus response. It's not low-level hedonism. It is high-level calling, drive, really the essence of who we are. The way that I want to construct my world is different than the way that you want to construct your world. The desires that I have are different than the desires that you have, and that's what makes us so uniquely ourselves. So honing that, listening to it, even in our business decisions. Do you want to hire this person or that person? Well, I like that person better. They just seem lovely to be with. So I can go with my wanting, with my desire, and allow that to be a piece of data, a heavily weighted piece of data in our decisions. And more than anything, I think we want to work on honing our capacity to desire well, on honing our capacity to desire with love, to desire in integrity, so that we spend much more of our lives just doing exactly what we want without fear that it will be dysregulating or disruptive to our other goals. And I don't know what other goals that we have for ourselves that are outside of desire. Anything that we're chasing, anything that we're building, anything that we're working towards, any difficulty that we are choosing is usually driven by desire. Even things that we do in our family life, the hours that we spend listening to kids talk about Minecraft. It's not so much that we desire that, but we desire deep relationship with our children and trust and conversation and an ongoing sense of connectivity. So figuring out in all of your decisions and in all of your activities, what's the through line of desire? Is this really what I want? Or is it out of obligation or should, or some old historical script around what is valuable. Our activities, the precious moments of our lives should be driven by what we really find valuable, what we desire, what brings us to life, what helps us to flourish. So desire, love, integrity. These are the three things that I think really are the special sauce for us, honing our capacity to act and make decisions in a way that really helps us to be most alive. So hopefully you find this series of thoughts interesting. If you do, please sign up for our mailing list at ZenFounder.com. We send out an email about twice a month. It's not burdensome, and it often goes a little bit deeper on some of the content that we talk about in the YouTube channel and on the podcast. So please follow us there. And it is my pleasure and delight. It is my greatest desire to be of service and support to you on your journey.